Hello, this is Hilary Robertson. Welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. I'm delighted this time to be joined by Igor Butman, who is an astonishing saxophone player. You need to check him out on YouTube, but you also need to check out his new album, which is due out any day. Igor bridges the jazz world between America and Russia with strong links to Wynton Marsalis and the Lincoln Center. Igor has performed with many world-class musicians, including Dave Brubeck, Chick Corea, Pat Metheny, Gary Burton, Louis Bellson, and Grover Washington Jr. I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Igor. So, welcome to Harmonious World. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. And where are you at the moment? Because looking at your biography, I'm not sure whether you're in Russia or you're in America.
I'm at the moment in Moscow. I just got back from south of Russia, from the Black Sea, and I was in New York a week ago.
Right.
I was mixing my recording that I did before the pandemic, so it took me a year and a half to mix it.
Oh, wow. Of course. Well, I look forward to hearing that when it comes out.
Yeah, it's I really like what we got with Antonio Sanchez is a great drummer, composer, and some of my young musicians from Russia, the winner of Herbie Hancock competition, guitarist Evgeny Pobozhny.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and pianist Oleg Akuratov, our blind genius. So yes, I'm very happy with the sound and the music. So I hope we will put it out soon.
Good. Is it originals or is it standards or is it a mixture?
Mostly my originals and one song by the guitarist, and one song with Wynton Marsalis composition and song that he wrote and he recorded with Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, right. Wait, what's that track called? Sorry, I lost you for a minute there.
And it's called Baby I Love You. So there's only one sang by, yes. And so it's most my originals.
Right. Okay, good.
The new one and the old one. Very
good. And I'm fascinated by your life between America and Russia, between essentially New York and Moscow, I think, isn't that right?
Yes, exactly. The reason I basically left Soviet Union was the political situation for music was good. I mean, I could play music, but I could play it only with Soviet-based musicians. I couldn't really travel abroad officially, and I needed to communicate with my colleagues from all over the world. I didn't have that opportunity, so the only way to get what I wanted for music to develop is to immigrate or leave Soviet Union, because there was not really a freedom of traveling and all that stuff for me. But it was a good time. I had a lot of good friends who were great musicians in Russia, but it was not enough. It was not enough people that I could play. And a few times when I met some American and other musicians, I saw the difference, and I saw the difference between the quality and the education between difference between Russian musicians, which weren't many. It was a few good ones, but it was not enough. So I emigrated and left Soviet Union in '87 to live and study in the United States, to be able to play with the best musicians in the world from all over the world. And there was a time when the Soviet Union collapsed, and the new freedom came to Russia. So there was not really reason not to be in Russia and with a lot of opportunities for music. There's a lot of people love jazz music. A lot of people started to play music. Many young musicians are now coming up, very talented. And we have a festivals, we have jazz clubs. So that is not, for the reasons I left Soviet Union, for the reasons I came back, but not, I didn't stop going to New York and still bringing my big band and my groups there, play with American colleagues. That's what I enjoy the most. And, it's great to be in the country where you're born and bring some of the music to more. I'm bringing a lot of attention to jazz. And this is, I succeed because I have a lot of experience that I got in New York and traveling all over the world. And one of my like a hero was a British saxophone player named Ronnie Scott.
Of course.
And of course he inspired me to open the club. And there's many good jazz musicians open the clubs, but no one is become legendary, known as Ronnie Scott's in London. So having this experience, having this ideas, so I now spend more time in Russia, but bringing young musicians or bringing any musicians to different countries. We've been performing all over the world. We've been performing in countries like India and China and some other, countries that the culture is not more into jazz for a long time. So that's
right.
That's my situation now with traveling New York, and New York's still the best place for the music that I love, and the jazz clubs and musicians live there. I love to work with the sound engineer James Farber, who gets the best sound for me that I like.
And I've seen some videos of the Moscow Jazz Orchestra, who obviously you travel with. They are phenomenal musicians.
Thank you very much.
And I particularly liked, I watched a performance of Dark Eyes, which was, I think, written by the pianist that you were working with then.
Yes, the arrangement is written by the pianist that I've been loving since 1978, when the first time I heard his group, Nick Levinovsky. And I heard his group many years ago. I was very young, and I just fell in love with the music that they played. And the music they played, it was a combination of contemporary jazz, some fusion, some jazz rock. He was influenced by Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and Thelonious Monk and Weather Report. And John Coltrane. And now we are in close contact with Nick Levinovsky. He lives in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, he lives now in New York, but he's a part of our big band. Now I have a young musician who plays piano, but Nick Levinovsky is our main arranger. We write together. We discuss we discuss the repertoire. We work very close. So this guy he wrote a really great arrangement for Dark Eyes, which is an old Russian-Ukrainian romance.
Oh, okay. Because it's interesting. We're a similar age, you and I, and the Soviet Union in the running up to the 80s was a very different place to Russia now. And I think for some people that's hard to understand. I mean, I had no comprehension of what Russia was like, what the Soviet Union was like, because it was closed to me. And I can totally understand why that you had to make that move to America. And it's brilliant that you're now using your links to make a bridge between the two countries. It's amazing.
You know, we have a festival, we call it Future of Jazz. We invite all the young musicians from all over the world. We have some musicians from Britain, from China, from Italy, from United States, from I think Brazil, from France, and of course Russians. And main idea to really let young musicians, very talented, to make their own bridges, so they know each other, so they know what it is to be happy by playing music and make everybody happy.
Yeah.
So and you know, Soviet Union was, you know, when I was living in Soviet Union, I was very young, so life was beautiful. But as you said, Soviet Union was closed.
Yeah.
And that's the main problem was for me. I didn't want to be a revolutionary. I didn't want to fight the regime because there was no reason. A lot of people were happy with that regime. So, you know, I was basically happy, but I was close. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to see other way of people living. And it didn't mean for me that we don't live as good as people in another country. I was very happy, but musically. So, but now it's a totally different. It's people travel all over the world.
Yeah.
We're still in the process of learning how to live in a democracy. It's a long and hard period. We are still learning. As I talked to just before, 30 years of democracy is not enough to learn and be able to live, because the Russian mentality is a special thing.
Yeah.
But it's getting much better, and these bridges are very important.
Yeah. And next year, I understand you're doing some events about the 100 years of Russian jazz. How is that going?
Oh, we started to work on a few things. We are, of course, planning the big concert with inviting all the musicians from the Soviet era who are still alive, and young musicians, and it will be in so-called Bolshoi Theatre. And we were planning to do it in Kremlin. There's a big concert hall in Kremlin, but historically, we have this great movie that was made in the 30s, and it's called Funny Guys or Happy Guys. And this is about a young man who was just a cowboy in Russia and become an artist, and he put together an orchestra, and his concert at the very end of the movie was held in Bolshoi Theatre. So we decided to have a festival in Bolshoi Theatre on October 1st. Jazz was introduced to Russia by a Russian dancer and actor, Valentin Parnakh, and the first concert was held on October 1st, 1922. So we planning to have a concert on October 1st, and we actually got support from the Minister of Culture. We also were meeting the Minister of Culture, and she was very enthusiastic about the 100th anniversary of Soviet and Russian jazz. And we will probably make a documentary about how the jazz started in Russia, how was through what Russian jazz had to go through. Some good moments, some not very good moments. But, you know, Russia has a big history.
Yeah.
In that vein.
Yeah, and also that's a big 100 years in anybody's history, isn't it? I mean, so much has changed in the world in that 100 years. It'll be a fascinating thing to see.
And you know, there's some really interesting material, some interesting controversial things about how jazz was popular, then not popular, that was accepted by the Communist Party, then not respected by Communist Party. I mean, it's sometimes you want to cry, sometimes you want to laugh, sometimes you think, what a stupid idiots. Then you think, and all very all different emotion you have by reading the history. We have to pay respect to all the people that were creating the history of Soviet jazz and Russian jazz.
Absolutely, because that is the background, isn't it? That then helps you move into the future with all these young musicians that you're talking about working with now.
Yes.
Very good. Brilliant. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that and hearing the new album. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you. Likewise. Pleasure.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Harmonious World. I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversation with Igor. As always, please do check out Igor's music, and all the links are in the show notes. At the start of this podcast, you were listening to Falling Grace, and now this is the title track of Igor's album, Only Now. If you enjoy listening to Harmonious World, please do share it with your friends and family. You can do that on social media, but also you can send a link on email or just tell your friends, because it's very easy for them to search Harmonious World podcast. Please also consider leaving a review on your preferred podcast platform. They really help people find me. Thank you so much for listening to Harmonious World, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Remember, please share what you are good at, and let's make this world a little more harmonious. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.